I'll kick off, Andy, with a question I had about, in your experience, what you feel are, and this is going to vary by person to person, but what do you feel are some of the easy blind spots that some coaches have across these different pillars? So in other words, what are the ones, what are the pillars that are easily overlooked, shall we say?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really important question to kick us off, and thanks for asking that question. I would say there are two. You know, I started by saying that no pillars are more important than others, but I'm just giving you my own experience here as a coach. I was one of those coaches that spent an awful lot of time researching and reading about football and about coaching and what I perceived or thought about coaching. And the one pillar that I didn't pay enough attention to was the second pillar, which is the climate and the environment. And there is so much reading out there, there is so much evidence out there around the importance of connectivity, a sense of belonging, a sense of identity. You know, we heard about the New Zealand All Blacks and Steve Kerr's legacy. We heard about the Barcelona DNA and those types of successful teams. The reality is that we must not assume that every player that's standing in front of us has a clear mind and is ready to come to learn. Players that come with trauma because they've had a bad day or things are happening in their life have their cognitive load taken up and clouded. So they cannot learn freely because they are not ready to learn. Now, if you build that level of trust and you build that relationship with them, they feel more at ease. They feel as though they're in a place where they are loved, and they feel as though they're in a safe environment. And they've got more chance then to succeed without things being on their mind. So that would be the first one. Think about the environment. Think about who you are as an individual. I work with a colleague who says to me, bring the sunshine. As the coach, you're in charge of the temperature of the group. So if you're not in a good place, if you're not smiling, if you're not having fun, it's unlikely that the players will as well. So think about that. I'm not saying drop your standards. I'm not saying, you know, have a free for all. That's not what I'm saying at all. You've got to have standards and you've got to have high expectations, but you can do that in a fun way, and you can do that in a nice way, a connected way. And the second pillar that I would urge everyone to think about is the last one, your craft. You know, there's a way of asking questions. There's a way of empowering players and imparting knowledge. And for coaches who've not done much of reading around this, I would urge you to look for Doug Lemhoff. Doug Lemhoff is on Twitter. He's written a couple of great books. And also look for Barak Rosenshine and Rosenshine's Principles of Instruction. Kids today are taught better than ever before, and they expect that from coaches as well. So you can't just be a traditional coach and say, you know, stop, this is what I want you to do, this is how you need to do it. Kids will not respond to that now. They expect something different and they're looking for something different. And I think if you involve them in the coaching experience and empower them, again, it's very powerful in building that relationship, but it's more powerful in the learning that's going on. So it will accelerate the learning. It will make learning memorable. They will remember more and be able to do more. So climate and craft would be my two.
Excellent. Very good answer. Thank you for that. Question from Jimmy, or comment. Great session, Andy. Thank you. Talked a lot about reflecting and studying as a coach. How important is it for a coach to have a peer group of coaches or mentors to aid their own development? Great question.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jim. I think it's invidious to think that you can do anything by yourself. You know, there's that great quote, isn't there? If you want to go quickly, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with others. And that's what I would say to Jimmy, is you surround yourself with knowledgeable people, surround yourself with naysayers who will challenge what you're saying. I've been very fortunate from the youngest ages of my coaching journey to be surrounded by 2 or 3 fantastic coaches. I can see one of them's on this session at the moment, 2 of them are on this session at the moment, is that talking to people and sharing ideas is an absolute given in terms of coaching mastery and understanding yourself and others better. In terms of reflection, which I think is what the question was alluding to, it's really difficult sometimes to reflect by yourself. So having 1 or 2 trusted confidants in terms of helping you pose those questions or answer those questions. We all have blind spots. I think blind spots has been mentioned, but I would also urge the coaches to think about how can you use the players to help you reflect. So how often do we ask the players, what was that session like tonight? How was it for you? Was it any good? Am I meeting your needs? What is it that I can do more of to help you? So that you understand as a coach whether you're on the same page as the players themselves and you talk in the same language.
Brilliant. And just leading on to that, would you recommend conversing or having friendships with coaches from other sports? Are there some benefits to that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if you talk about elite level coaches and elite level athletes, they're always cross-fertilizing, aren't they, looking at what's going on. You know, there's a great example at Barcelona. A lot of Barcelona's philosophy and methodologies were born out of Horst Wien. And Horst Wien was a coach of hockey, field hockey, that the coaches in Barcelona pinched because they shared the same training ground. And the coaches stopped to watch Horst Wien's sessions on the way back to the dressing room. And they were so inspired by his methodologies that they enticed him to come and work with them. And Horst Wien later transferred his hockey knowledge into football coaching at Barcelona. You know, we see a lot of that today at elite level. But again, you know, for those that are at university or have come through university, I'm sure that they've got coaching colleagues and friends that are in different sports, whether that's basketball or whether that's rugby or whatever it might be. Really important to share ideas and cross-fertilize, because you may not pinch their ideas per se, but what it might do is spark something new into you to think about, okay, what would that look like within our game if we were to mold that to football?
Yeah. And you did mention in the presentation, like Steve Kerr and I think England hockey. Are there other examples that you personally look at quite intentionally, quite deliberately?
Well, back in the day for me, it was rugby union, because there was Clive Woodward won the Rugby World Cup with the England. So straight away you're reading around him. Read around the Ryder Cup and the golf, because obviously that's a team environment where players are pulled in from different domains to come together to perform as a team. So that's not easy when they all come from different cultures and different backgrounds and different teams. Similarly with Olympic sports, really, really important, I would say, for coaches, just keep on top of, you know, what's current and what's vogue, what's happening. So yeah, you know, at the moment it's Steve Kerr. Before him, it was New Zealand rugby and the legacy. But we're obviously coming into an Olympic year. There are some great programs to look at. You know, we've mentioned hockey. British judo is another one to look at. They're one of GB's most successful medal sports. That in the past we've looked at cycling in those marginal gains and what that might look like. So always on the lookout for little golden nuggets that you can pull into your own coaching environment and your own coaching team.
Excellent. Appreciate that. Okay, another comment or question from a different gym, I think. So is coaching language of today a help or hindrance to players compared with 10 to 15 years ago? Good question.
I'm not sure I've got the answer to that, but obviously what I would say is, in terms of what we're trying to achieve here, which is mastery coaching, which is you to unlock potential and for players to understand your framework within your team or within your club, that common language is absolutely essential. So if we think of a squad of 16 players, the diversity that they come from, whether that's, diverse economic backgrounds where some will come with high level language and some will come with low level language, or whether we think about schooling, some go to schools where the quality of learning is really good and others it might be a little bit more mediocre. Some kids will come who are really well read, others will come and they don't enjoy reading at all, so they've got language limitations. In terms of that level of consistency, it's really, really important as a coach, you set the benchmark with language and what language that you want to hear and how you want that language to be used. So obviously, from a personal point of view, you're the professional, so professional language is really important. And the manner in which you create that environment is really important. I'm not saying that it needs to be serious and you shouldn't be telling jokes and these sorts of things, but you've got to be really, really careful about sensitivities and about the needs of individuals. But in terms, obviously, of the topic, in terms of football or in terms of coaching, as I said in the presentation, it's really important that terminology is understood. So if we think of language in tiers, okay, and coaches may want to go away and do a little bit of reading on this. If you think of tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3 language, subject-specific terminology comes in at tier 3. So tier 1 are all the common words that we use every single day that you'll read in the daily newspaper. Tier 2 vocabulary will be more of the language around understanding. So that would be reasoning, distilling, decision-making, problem-solving, that sort of language. And tier 3 language is subject-specific language. So if we're talking about the half space, what is the half space? If we're talking about the prime scoring area, what does that mean? If we're talking about touch tight, show me what touch tight means. Don't assume because you know what that word means or that terminology means that your players will, because they all come from diverse and different backgrounds and different experiences. Does that make sense?
Yep. I think hopefully everyone got that. Another question here from Kevin. So, excellent presentation, Andrew. Thank you. How often do coaches and players perform activities together that increase an individual's psychological or social capacities, as in a classroom session rather than on the pitch instructional session?
I guess that will be individual to either the coach, the team, or the club. It will probably be determined around availability of resources, and I include time within that. So if you've only got your players for 1 hour a week, the chances are that opportunity is going to be very, very limited. However, if you're working day to day, or if you're on a training camp, then there's going to be lots of opportunity out of hours for you to get those players together to do those sorts of activities. What I would suggest is that there's no imperative to do stuff like that. It's an added extra. It's a bonus if you can do things like that. The reality is you want to have an integrated approach to your coaching. So some of those coaches that enjoy the psychological aspects or enjoy the social aspects of coaching would profess that it's better to do those things out on the pitch, because that is where the game is played, rather than doing it in the classroom or doing it in the changing room. However, the reality isn't always that simple, because sometimes you may need to show videos, or you may want some motivational music, you may want some flip charts that you can't use outside because it's raining, etc. Or you may just want to do it in a moment that is free from distractions outside, where the wind is blowing or balls are being shot into the goal on the next pitch, etc. And you can do it in a more controlled environment. So that one really is horses for courses. I think everybody will determine what their own needs are on that one.
Yeah. Okay. All right, guys, if there's no other questions, we'll wrap this up. So I just want to thank all of you attendees who have joined us today, taking the time out, wherever you are, whatever you've been doing, you made some time. So appreciate that. Hopefully you gained some insights from this, and have got most importantly, some things to think about. And then lastly to you, Andy, thank you so much for sharing. I thought that was really good, a really practical way to think about ourselves as coaches, where we are in our journeys. And I think that will apply for as long as we're coaching. You know, we can always keep improving all of those things. So thank you so much. So I'll leave the final words with you.
Thank you.
I hope that that's been really useful. You know, it's great to see so many coaches online today. You know, I know that you're all very busy people, you're all in different time zones, etc. I'm privileged to have been asked to share that with you. It was my honor to share that with you. If any of you want to reach out, jump on LinkedIn or Twitter, you'll find me there. I'm quite happy to continue that conversation, and if it can be of any help whatsoever, point you in the direction of some reading or some support materials, then I will do. Other than that, I just wish you all good luck.